Hello, my name is Dr. Wozencraft, and I'm going to be walking you through today our pre-screening call in order to address some typical questions that come up in order to fully explain what our 10-week protocol is, who we are, what our team consists of, the foundations we built it upon, some contraindications that we will need to discuss in order to commit to the program, and then lastly our total cost. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit supporting veterans primarily from Tier 1 and soft communities, but we support all veterans. We've really approached this from an evidence-based healing approach, which I'll cover on some subsequent slides. But ultimately, we really dig into the lives with natural medicine, therapies, regenerative modalities, and the biopsychosocial spiritual support, which I'll cover. This is our team, just a quick snapshot. We've put together a really solid team with Sean and I are the co-founders. Dr. Staveley is the director of our research development. Chuso, Dr. Caldrone is our MD, which is he's a neurologist, and he really does a lot with our safety and compliance regarding the medical screening. We've got Sarah and Brandy, both major supports in the bio and the psychosocial support. Will down there is our veteran program director. Brittany directs us our spouse and female veterans. Stephen and Andrew, both prior 18 deltas, but they have been a major add-on to our program to really develop the certifications and the facilitation of our medicine. Rachel is soon to be PhD. She's the director of our spouse curriculum, and Iñaki is our licensed shaman out of Mexico. So as I said before, we've really built this upon the biopsychosocial spiritual model. As for briefing purposes today, I'm primarily going to dig into the biopsychosocial model, but ultimately this is the foundation of what we've really built this nonprofit on. So when we look at you, we really need to address you from three primary categories. The first being biological. So what we provide during that time in the first, because the protocol is 10 weeks long, in the first 6 weeks, you're going to get mailed out a workbook, a proprietary supplement stack, a microdosing protocol, all focused on optimizing your physiological health, which plays two roles. One, it'll help your psychological, your psyche, but also it'll optimize you for ceremony. So what I'm really focused on those first 6 weeks, we are implementing a diet, we're implementing a lot of other aspects, but we really want to optimize your experience with the medicine at ceremony week. So we're going to do a full set of biological labs, understanding where you're at from the metabolic health, hormone balance, inflammation markers, all of these key things that do drive your psyche. So we are also trying to address, and this is where we saw a gap in the industry where there was a lot of other programs that don't look at you from a holistic approach. So you could have the greatest experience with the plant medicine, but you could be coming back to this avatar you've been given, which is your body, that you have high fatigue, low energy, and being just simply chemically imbalanced can cause psychological issues such as you could be moody, irritable, again, high fatigue, all these things that you're actually fighting your own body. So that's why we want to address that in tandem with the psychological piece. And as I said, the psychological side, it's a 10-week psychological training arc. We're really progressing you through the self-awareness, emotional regulation, and identity reconstruction. But ultimately, when we go through, you're going to be given the transformation guidebook that has curated curriculum for each week leading into ceremony and post-ceremony. All this is evidence-based. We're really focusing on the cognitive reframing. We really want to get some, that inquiry into that self-directed piece, relational reflection, and a lot of this is going to be driven through trauma-informed grounding practices, journaling, and some more somatic awareness. So each week, this is what's going to happen. So each week for 6 weeks leading into ceremony and the 4 weeks after ceremony, because ceremony is going to happen week 6. But there's 3 core engagements that's going to happen for you. So each week, you're going to have a mentor session, so a 30-minute emotional check-in with your mentor that you're going to be assigned. You're going to have a 1-hour session with your coach. This is where they're really going to be digging into a lot of that meaning making of what you're going to be going through. And then lastly, every Sunday you have the 60-minute group discussion. So on Monday you get assigned your homework that gets dropped in Signal, and from there you're going to have the homework to do out of your workbook, which could be a podcast, audiobook, whatever, and that's going to drive you into that 60-minute group discussion on Sunday, where you as a group of the cohort of 10, maximum of 10, are going to work through what all this consists of. So what that looks like from a holistic wheel, the mentor focus you see there, they're going to have key things they're going to be digging in with you from week 1 to week 10. The coach is going to be digging into certain things with you, really focused on connecting the dots. And then lastly, that workbook really ties it together with how you're syncing all of it up collectively. So social, this is the third piece. We are very serious about, if you're married, your spouse needs to play a major role. So integrated into that full 10-week journey, we want to make sure the spouse fully understands the process, fully supported, and remains connected to your transformation. Otherwise, you're going to transform without her, and we don't want that to happen, or him or her. So relational health focus areas, we're really focused on communication tools, co-regulation strategies, emotional attunement, and navigating identity and relationship shifts. So the spouse will receive a workbook, and she'll also have multiple calls, as you see here. So she'll have a pre-ceremony preparation, ceremony weekend support, and then also the post-ceremony integration. She has full access to a coach for really digging into having some tools to manage anxiety, uncertainty, because some of the things are going to start coming up even before ceremony as you start to change. And we want to be able to have your spouse grow with you and work with you as you continue for your journey. So for ceremony, so leading into ceremony, you're going to do a major diet for 2 weeks prior to. You're going to do a fast leading into ceremony. But the first medicine you're going to do right off the rip is Combo. Combo is a powerful detox. It is venom from a tree frog out of the Amazon. It is legal in all 50 states, but is very purifying. We use it primarily as a physiological cleansing, but also as from a psychological piece. It really grounds you from an energetic perspective, and think about it in a sense of like clearing the runway before takeoff. It is a purging medicine. It is not comfortable, but at the end of the day, it plays a major role. And on the call, we'll discuss potentially some other major physiological benefits we've seen. But ultimately, that's what we kick off with. After that, we go into a fireside chat that night where we really discuss why we're there. Next morning, we start off with the most powerful psychedelic on planet Earth, which is 5-MeO-DMT. Often called the God molecule. You will expect some dissolution. You will be, within seconds, you will fall into an unconscious state for no more than 6 minutes to 8 minutes. And after that, you're going to come to. And you're going to be processing stuff still under the effects of the medicine for roughly 15 to 30 minutes after. Now, during that time, the reason we start with that medicine is because it is a very powerful medicine that you cannot fight. You can't white knuckle this stuff. So the reason we start with that, because it's a breaching tool to breach into that door that's into your soul, to open you up to fully see everything. A lot of times, some of the guys that come through the program, will try to white knuckle the hard shit. You can't white knuckle Bufo. That's why we start with it. Next, we go into the mushrooms that night. So in between Bufo and psilocybin in the evening, you're going to do some group integration, some sound therapy. You're going to do some one-on-one time. And what we're really doing is we're trying to have you process what you just gained from the morning's medicine, and now you get to integrate with it and work with it at night. So say it really discovered you had some self-love issues, right? So now you get to take that and then process it in the evening with psilocybin. So instead of spending roughly 30 minutes with the medicine, now you get to spend 4 to 5 hours with the medicine. And this is where you really get to ask questions, work with it. Medicine, show me why I can't love myself. And it actually shows it to you and it communicates with you. That's why it's a very powerful medicine. So as you see, the arc of transformation is purify. With Combo, we confront with Bufo, and we integrate with mushrooms. Now, after medicine day, we have an integration day where all day your focus is How do we integrate? How do we work with what we just gained? What can we do to not lose the insight we just gained? So we'll do some acupuncture, massage therapy, group integration, one-on-one, and then at the end of the day, we're just going to hang out, smoke cigars, sit by the fire, and just enjoy this new self of what we just discovered. Then after that, you're going to go home and you got another 4 weeks of work. This is the most important phase of this entire program, are those 4 weeks. This is where, as you know, in order to create a habit, it takes 28 days. This is where you really make the money, big bang for your buck. And that's what we're really focused on, is completing that 10-week journey on a high. So the research, these are the 3 categories and the subcategories of what we cover in each one. But ultimately, as you see, we take measurements at the 1 week before the 10-week journey, 1 month post, 6 months post, and 1 year post ceremony. All the data, as you can see here, is strong. So our protocol is working. You see 4 to 6 weeks post ceremony. We see a 30 to 45% overall improvement in every category. At 6 to 7 months post ceremony, participants, as you can see, still maintain the emotional balance, the sustained sobriety, increased discipline, and managing pain effectively. So ultimately, again, we don't do anything on here unless we can measure it. So from a screening perspective, these are the contraindications we look for. We need to discuss if you've ever been diagnosed with bipolar, if you've ever been involuntarily committed, if you've had long-term use of SSRIs or MOAIs like Zoloft and Ambien. We'll discuss that, because what we don't want is, if you have a long, prolonged exposure to it, sometimes it takes a little longer for it to get out of your system, and we don't. If you still have some of the SSRIs in your system, it's not that it'll have a bad impact with the medicine. It's going to numb your experience with the medicine. And again, our focus is to optimize your experience with the medicine. Another contraindication is if your spouse is not on board. If you're married, statistically speaking, it just doesn't work. No different. I always compare is if you're trying to lose weight and your spouse is not for it. How statistically speaking, how successful can you be? Also, if you have financial and personal instability, this is a major thing for us. If you're in a bad state financially or personally, you're not going to be able to truly delegate or dedicate a lot of time to digging inward. So what we typically do, if those that are on it, we just want you to be honest with us, and we'll shift you to another cohort. We're not saying no, we just need to shift you till you're in a good, stable position that you're able to spend that quality time doing that introspective work. No exceptions are no alcohol for the entire 10-week program, no THC for the entire 10-week program, and off all medications that especially impact the 5-HT2A receptor. The reason for these things, not because those 3 things are bad for you, even though they are, it's ultimately because they impact your ability to receive the medicine. So again, we're really focused on your optimizing you so you have a more optimal experience with the medicine. Cost for the entire program is $5,000, but the max we charge the participant is $2,500. So the sponsors, we have sponsors that cover the rest, but this covers your labs, this covers the medicine, the handbook, the workbook, the goodie bag, the protocol, everything. In order to hold your spot is $500. So lastly, we're going to answer your questions, but ultimately, we just want to know: are you willing to give up the things that have brought you here? Because we want to make sure you're willing to do the work, because this is not going to be comfortable. This is not going to be easy. This is not just a fun trip weekend and, you're going to trip on some mushrooms and go home. This is very uncomfortable. And if you want to be having true change, you're going to have to get uncomfortable, because we see this a lot. We don't want you to take the spot of somebody that really needs it if you're not willing to do the work. Because we'll see people cry out for change, but yet they still cling to the very patterns that have kept them unwell. They seek healing, but refuse to part with those habits, those identities, the attachments that really sustain their suffering. My favorite quote is, "A man drowning in a river may scream for help, but he'll grip the very stone pulling him under." So he does not see the struggle is not against the current, but it's against himself. So you can't truly be freed from suffering while you're still clutching to the very chains that bind you. You see, like, suffering is familiar, in the brain. It is very well worn groove neurologically, and it's like a rhythm you've danced to for years. And though it's going to be painful, it's painful. It is known, and the known, no matter how unbearable, is often preferred neurologically over the terrifying vastness of the unknown. So, but if you want true healing, healing is not an addition, it's actually a subtraction. It's not something you gain, but it's something you release. So to step into this program, you must be willing to leave behind the version of yourself that was comfortable in sickness. So before you start this journey, I want you to really truly ask yourself, am I willing to let go of who I was to become who I'm meant to be? Looking forward to talking to you.